And gentlemen, we are here today on February the 11th. It is the regularly scheduled business meeting of the Leon County School District at the Aquilina Howell Center, and we are pleased to welcome our student participants for tonight's meeting. I'll ask our student school board member AP to introduce them, please.
Right, we have two students today. The first up is Jacob Booth. He'll be doing our Pledge of Allegiance today. Just a little need to know on Jacob. He's accompanied by Jason and Sherry Booth, who are his parents, and Jaden Booth, who is a 7th grader at Montford and also his sister. Jacob is a 5th grader at Roberts Elementary and has earned Arrow of Light, the highest award for Cub Scouts, and has already joined the Scouts BSA with Troop 44. Jacob, whenever you want.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job.
All right.
Next up, we have Boston Edgerson. She is also a 5th grader at Roberts Elementary School and is accompanied by Carrie Edgerson, who is her mom. She is on the School Safety Patrol, Kind Club, and the Mini Moo Mathletes, and has earned honor roll and citizenship every year at her school. Boston, if you would lead us in a thought of the day.
Good evening. I would like to share a quote from Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, that was beautiful, and it made me feel very happy. Thank you. All right. I don't believe we have any changes and additions for the evening. That will take us to item number 3, the superintendent spotlight. Mr. Superintendent, I'm sorry.
The parents stand.
I'm so sorry. Could the parents that support these lovely youngsters and their teachers and family please stand so we can thank you, Principal.
Yes.
Principal. That was my oversight. I apologize. We know it takes a lot to get them all the way out here and to Scouts every week and all the projects that they do, and we're grateful to all of you for your support of our students and your kids and our school district as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Superintendent.
Madam Chair, if I may, first I need to apologize for two things. One, I was running a little bit behind this evening. We were serving chili to our bus drivers at the Cox compound as part of Bus Driver Appreciation Week. So we made chili last night for Cox. Tonight after the board meeting, we'll go home and make more chili for Connor Boulevard. And then on Thursday, Appleyard. So when I walked through Publix last night with just about every can of bean they had and every variety, they looked at me with this strange face, but the drivers were certainly appreciative of us doing that for them. And also, I apologize, I did not get the red memo. Actually, I got the memo. I received the memo, but it escaped me.
Okay.
So I apologize that I'm not in red tonight. Board Member Jones, it looks like you may have a little red. AP and I, for some reason.
I missed the memo, too.
Yeah, it's all right.
We'll take care of that.
We have red flowers for them, so we're good.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So at this time, I would like to invite the proud principal of Montfort Middle School up to the podium to introduce a special guest for our superintendent spotlight, Mr. Blessing.
Thank you, Superintendent Hannah and board members. Tonight it gives me a great honor to introduce a Montfort Middle School 6th grader, Hannah Mekes, who was the winner for the district Tropicana speech contest. And this is her story to tell. The only thing I'd like to say as a school principal is that it's a reminder that we have kids that walk through our gates every day that have really heavy and profound things that they're dealing with in their lives, and that teaching and learning is important, but supporting our students as they go through these times is just as equally important. And with that, Hannah.
I would like to say, so I was at the Tropicana speech contest when Hannah performed like she's about to, and she's a winner and is going to be moving on to the next round of competition. She's a very brave young lady. So, Hannah, thank you for being here tonight.
Life as I knew it changed in an instant. When I found out that my 4-year-old sister, Skylar, had inoperable brain tumors. sadness, anger, guilt, confusion, grief, and fear, all wrapped up in a spirit of faith. The unknown, the waiting, missing my parents who are gone most of the week, every week for my sister's treatments. Yet, even with all these challenges, the good usually outweighs the bad. For instance, we don't know what's to come, so we take it day by day. At times, it feels like we have more questions than answers. We're waiting, sometimes patiently, sometimes not. Although, as a family, we've settled that this is a journey, not a sprint. Nothing is the same, but we're doing our best to adapt to a new normal, to remain positive and think good thoughts. And while we're grateful various family members stay with us, teaching us new perspectives and skills, they also come with their own expectations and routines. For example, I now know the best way to harvest a pomegranate, but I still have nightmares about my aunt saying, "Be in bed by 8." This requires understanding and patience from us all. As great as it is having people who love us, take care of us, there's nothing like having my mom, dad, and Skylar home. I miss my mom's wonderful cooking and warm hugs, and my dad's crazy jokes and awesome help. I can't wait for the day that my baby sister can play with me the way she used to again. Though we FaceTime every night, my parents are still 2 hours away, not available as much as usual. Furthermore, most of their attention has to be on Sky. This is a necessary choice that my other 2 sisters and I support. The road of life can be rocky, but the kindness of people soothes the pain. The kindness of people can make a huge impact. Their acts of kindness go on, starting with well wishes, prayers, cards, gifts, and meals. Even FSU sports teams and marching band sent recorded messages that went viral on social media. Sorry. The expenses are outrageous, but so is the hearts of others. This can be seen through fundraisers set up by people selling #I'mWithSky t-shirts and bracelets, and raising money on GoFundMe. So, even though life can be hard, the kindness of people soothes the pain. We should always strive to be kind, because behind the scenes, we never know what struggles someone is facing or what battles someone is fighting. While our reality keeps changing and we learn new things, we really need those people. So remember, life is precious, so choose to be kind.
Very nice.
So, Hannah, would you like to introduce your family members that are with you today? I see maybe some sisters, and who's here with you, supporting you tonight?
Yes, of course. My dad is here, David Meckes. My grandma is here, and my 2 sisters. My older sister, Madeline Meckes, and my younger sister, Avery Meckes.
And I assume your mom is with your sister?
Yes, my mom, my aunt, and Skylar are at the hospital right now, so yes, they're not here at the moment.
Thank you so
Well, I
much.
can't thank you enough. So when's your next round of competition? So your principal's here. Is Mr. Young here too, or no?
He's not here, no.
He's your personal trainer, huh?
Yes, definitely.
So when's the next round of competition?
I think it's around the end of April. We haven't gotten all the information yet, though, so
Well, you're a very brave young lady, and you're an inspiration to all of us.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll have a medal for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
We're going to get a picture.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
So come on, Dad. Come on, sisters. Come on, Grandma. I think we got a Trojan. And what grade are you in? 4th grade at Roberts? Gilchrist, that's right.
Grizzlies.
Thank you.
Well,
Wow.
give them a minute to clear the room. You know, I was thinking most professional speaking coaches will tell you not to tackle an issue that is currently affecting your life. They will say, wait until after you've, processed everything. And that it really is a tremendous example of her strength at such a young age. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate all the family coming all the way out here to share that with us. That takes us to item 5.04, the 2020 US Census.
Madam Chair, Superintendent, and board members, I apologize. Our superintendent is a part of the Combined Continuous Count Committee, and tonight before you, I'm proud to introduce Evelyn Ramirez, who's going to give you a brief overview of the census. You do have some information before you, and there's a PowerPoint that is attached to the board meeting. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Evelyn Ramirez.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gale. Thank you, school board. Thank you, everyone, for making time to be here. I'm Evelyn Ramirez, and I am your liaison for the U.S. Department of Commerce Census Bureau. This is my second decennial census, and I'm so proud to be able to be here today to talk to you about why it's important to get involved with the census. Are you familiar with Title I funding?
We are.
Yes.
How about free lunch?
We are.
Yes.
Well, the census population count determines access to those funds. It's essentially $675 billion allocated annually based on your population count. Now, we've been doing this since 1790. We're mandated every 10 years to have our decennial census. We started in I started in 2010, but the decennial started in 1790. So it's not a new concept, and yet every single decennial census we have to start from scratch. We have the pleasure of having Dr. Gale support by way of Leon County Schools on our Complete Count Committee at the local level. And what we're asking all of our teachers, educators, is to think about how they can get involved. Now, aside from being educators, really what you are investors, and your bottom line and your investment is the future, is the children that you're here to lead and advocate for. And it's important that the families that take care of these children, the caregivers, sometimes it's a non-traditional household, sometimes it's grandparents taking care of children, that every single child and every single family knows how this population count affects them, that the questionnaire is very easy, it's safe, it's very fast to do. I also want people to know that there are opportunities for employment. We have a few thousand jobs available for the county, and I will be in touch with Dr. Gale and subsequently also with the superintendent to make sure that everyone that we serve has an opportunity to apply. But most importantly, what I'm asking for you today is to consider being part of our Statistics in Schools. Were you able to put that up on the screen? Statistics in Schools? Okay, so if you can keep on sliding down. So it's a really great program. You can go to our Census Statistics in Schools website. If you look at your folders that I left there for you, you can look at how to access that information. I'd love for you to share that with all of your educators as well. There are over 200 activities you can do. I know the last thing that you want to think about is adding one more curriculum lesson plan to teachers who are already overwhelmed with testing in their own curriculum. But I think there's an easy way that you can make sure that everyone is a part of this and understands the consequences of not participating. They affect everyone from the teacher to the newborn in the household of the big sister or big brother who goes to school at Leon County Schools. So there's lots of activities. 67 are new, and you can learn about geography, history through these plug-and-play, ready-to-go lessons plans. If you're in a school where this is just too difficult, it's too much, it's too taxing, there's not enough time, then what we ask for you to do is to think about maybe printing something like our census logo, our census jobs logo as well.
information about the census, and of course, maybe mentioning something when it's homeroom call, doing something. It's important to include a piece of this outreach because for some families, the children are the emissaries. They're the ones who read the bills for the non-English speaking families. They're the ones who translate everything that comes through the door. And sometimes it's the children, regardless of any language barrier, that really inform their families of what's available. So I'm more than happy to work with you on a couple of events. I know we discussed doing something for the Statistics in Schools Week, which is March 2nd through the 6th. And I would love to work in particular with those Title I schools, with all schools. Let's make sure that everyone knows that there is value, there is purpose, and following this mandate. That's a civic action that we don't all get to vote for many reasons, but we can all be counted. So let's reach out and figure out a way that we can make this happen, and above all, that we can inform our children, our families, the correlation between that funding that we need and the political power, because let's face it, redistricting is also based on the population count. We want people to be empowered, and we want you as educators to take this information forward. And I'm always happy to serve and support, so just let me know how I can help. And let's get ready to shape our future and make sure that every single one is counted in our community. Thank you. Any questions? I'd love to answer questions if we have time about the census, about our jobs. Any questions? No questions. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, that takes us to item number 5.05, Class Act.
My favorite board members. And superintendent, of course.
Okay.
For those who may not remember me, my name is Misty Cash. I'm the US Southeastern representative for Random Acts. And just a reminder that Random Acts is all about spreading kindness, which there's obviously kindness going on in Tallahassee. So we love to hear that. Just a very quick reminder that I'm a volunteer. I'm not paid. So just wanted to make sure that you remember that. And we're not asking for money. We're not asking you to do anything other than to be kind. And as part of our program, we have what's called the Class Act Award, where schools, student clubs that are performing acts of kindness in the community can apply for a $6,000 award. $6,000 check I will bring to the school and hand it over and say, continue your kindness efforts. So we are trying to encourage kindness to be spread not only throughout Tallahassee, but it's going to ripple and reach all the ends of the world. And I just wanted to let you know that students in Tallahassee have been participating. We had several students last year that ran amok with us during our annual Melee of Kindness. And as part of their participation, they get service hours for helping out in the community. So they ran amok. They helped with some back-to-school drives through Random Acts, and they helped with a Parkland Remembrance for last year. So they've been very special to the efforts and the kindness that's going on in Tallahassee, and they have been working on several hundred Valentine's cards that will be passed out around town this Thursday and Friday. So if you receive a Valentine from a student, please know that it was made with love. So if we can help with anything, creating a kindness club at a school, I'm happy to help with that. Work with them on projects, networking to help them carry out the project. Anything we can do to help, we're here. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for what you do. Do you have a liaison at most schools?
So I'm working on that. Having an education background myself, I understand all the hats that all the teachers wear. I have reached out to all the high schools and trying to reach out to middle schools and making those connections. Childs has been amazing. Principal Burgess, I have to commend him on working with us. I've just made a connection at Leon. I have some Rickard students who are offering to help with some projects later on in this year. But if you have someone that I should talk to, please, by all means, either give me their information or give them mine. We would love love to come and speak to their group or meet with them whenever's convenient to do anything. And again, we have funds we can provide them. If they have a project they want to do in the community, they can apply for it, sort of like a mini grant, and we can provide those funds to help them be kind in Tallahassee.
That's great. I think AP could probably help with the Student District Advisory Council at the high school level, and I'm sure that elementary and middle, I'm sure Ms. Crowell is listening. So, Mr. Superintendent, do you have something you wanted to say?
You said they ran amok.
Yeah.
Ran amok. So
I think that's a good thing,
Yeah,
right?
help me understand exactly.
It is our annual melee of kindness. We run amok.
Run amok. Got it.
And so it's an opportunity for us to just get out and do as many kind random things, whether it's buying coffee for someone in line. This past year we went to Cascades Park and had a buffet of snacks and water for people to just come by and pick up as they were walking their dog or jogging around the park. So we'll be out and about hopefully again this year with a lot of student helpers running amok.
Great.
Wow.
Steve, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
AP has a comment.
AP?
I could ask something really quickly. So, do you also talk to service clubs at schools or clubs that are oriented towards social work or social justice in any way?
Yes, so that's part of what I'm trying to do, outreach and make connections at all the schools to do that. Childs has been great in helping with that. I've established some connections at Leon, and I'm doing that. If you have schools you would like for us to come to, or a district-wide group meeting that you would like for us to come to, we're more than happy to do that.
Well, I'd recommend coming to one of the SDAC meetings.
Sure
They're
thing.
held at Leon most of the time.
Okay.
And that's where representatives from SGAs from all across Leon County come together and talk about different projects that we can continue. And as far as Rickards goes, I can be your person for that.
Wonderful.
Being in their service clubs, their social work clubs, I can contact you with the people who are in charge of those clubs.
You put me on the agenda, I'll be there.
Of course.
Misty, I'll send you an email with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
SDAC connection, but also Peace Jam clubs. Peace Jam is out of FSU in partnership with many of our schools who have Peace Jam clubs, and that might be an ongoing, whoever sponsors those clubs might be a good recurring.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be
Person.
there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Misty. And if someone wants to run amok, tomorrow is National School Crossing Guard Day.
Oh, yeah.
So feel free to thank your neighborhood crossing guard for getting our children to and from school safely each and every day.
And define what
Please.
run amok means in every neighborhood.
Annual Malay of Kindness.
That's it. Annual Malay of Kindness.
All right. Thank you, Misty. That was very timely on Valentine's Day week. Are there any persons to be heard?
Yes, Madam Chair. There are 4 speakers. First speaker is Dr. Kelly Bolden Bailey. If you could please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I am
evening.
Dr. Kelly Bolden Bailey,
Address?
749 Silver Maple Drive, Tallahassee, Florida. Good evening, board members, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. I come representing ELS Empowerment Foundation and the Educate and Lead Serve Consulting Team. Together, we can. That's our theme for our conferences across the city of Tallahassee and in the Big Bend. This year, we are focusing on mental health and emotional wellness. I believe everyone has a copy of our flyer as well as some of our sponsors on the back. We've already heard a number of speakers this evening that have addressed some of the challenges that our students and our communities are facing. How can we come together to support each other, to support our young people, and to move together forward? At this conference, we're having the opportunity to have many persons come and speak with us and come from their particular areas in terms of mental health and emotional wellness. We've had a number of wonderful volunteers, and what we'd really like is for those persons who are in the Leon County School Board, counselors, teachers, young teachers, professionals, to come and join us on that day, share their thoughts and ideas. We are of the opinion that through dialogue and engagement, together, we can break through to mental and emotional wellness.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
May I just
Ms.
ask?
Bowen?
Dr. Bailey, is there a cost? Will our students be able to come free, or is that part of what I'm interested in knowing?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, there is a cost for our seminar. It's $20.
All right.
What I'm very excited about is that our sponsors have offered to pay for our college students who are majoring in educational counseling, psychology, and other young professionals in that area. We wish we could pay for everyone, but unfortunately, we're not able to cover all of the costs, but we would love to have the Leon County School Board.
Madam Chair, Mr. Superintendent, with your permission, I'd like for Dr. Kelly Bolden Bailey to possibly refer to Dr. Cox, whereby we might be able to identify some synergy and collaboration between this worthwhile effort and the activities that we have occurring within our school district. I think this is a worthwhile partnership as we endeavor to serve our shared constituencies.
So noted. So Dr. Cox is sitting right behind me, so we'll reach out and see how we can get involved and at least spread the word of what's going on the 29th of February.
Thank you
Excellent
so much.
opportunity. Thank you for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Caitlin Payberg. You could please come give us your full name in case I mispronounced that, and your address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
It's a great T-shirt.
Thank you. My name is Caitlin Payberg, and my address is 600 Dixie Drive, apartment 1211, Tallahassee, 32304. Good evening. I'm just here to talk about the issues that our annual contract teachers face. I've been an annual contract teacher for 8 years, and while I have always been highly effective, the annual contract language has negatively impacted my students and me. The first 5 years, everything was fine. I worked with a knowledgeable, compassionate, professional, and fair principal. Unfortunately, that all changed during my 6th year of teaching. The district moved my principal and brought in someone with minimal and expired experience to a turnaround school. She did not understand the evaluation process and did not treat others with the respect that she demanded for herself. I worked in a hostile work environment. I spoke with multiple people in this room about ongoing issues, and because of that, near the end of the year, I was let go for any or no reason at all. And other people that were brave enough with me were also let go. When I specifically asked for professional feedback, I was told, I don't have to have that conversation with you. I was forced to leave behind my students, my parents, and my colleagues. I was forced to leave behind students who came to me nonverbal, who were speaking in complete sentences. I was forced to leave behind students who came to me as non-readers and who had begun to start reading. I was forced to leave behind their parents who trusted me, and I was forced to leave behind my colleagues who are still being treated poorly. When they stand up, they're retaliated against. Colleagues who are too scared to stand up and stand up for fear of retaliation because of any or no reason at all. Currently, I work with grade administration, as I did my first 5 years. However, I know that that may change. And I'm here tonight because I'm hoping that you will remember where you came from and help us stabilize annual contract language for our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, Zachary Johnson. Please come give us your full name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Zachary Johnson. Address is 4647 Old Magnolia Road, Tallahassee 32309. I wanted to first of all extend a kind of belated thank you. I was at last month's board meeting but didn't get the chance publicly to say thank you to those of you in the room who joined Florida Education Association for our rally on the 13th of January. I was very pleased and optimistic to see several of you sitting here tonight up on the steps of the old Capitol building with me. You may not have seen me. It was kind of tight up there. Some of you are even wearing the same shirt that I'm wearing right now. And as you might remember, part of what we were talking about was money. It was funding for programs and funding for salaries, but that wasn't the only issue. One of the big things that was of concern to teachers, not only here in Leon County but around the state, was stability in careers. Since 2011, people who have gone into the teaching profession in this state don't have that stability. To think that you can be rated as a professional, be told that you're doing your job highly effectively, and still be able to be let go without any explanation is absurd. We've seen around the state that other counties have found ways to work around some of the statutes in the contracts that they've entered into with teachers. And so what I'm here tonight to ask you is to join LCTA in looking for a solution that can provide some stability for teachers. I understand that you all have been having those conversations. It's a conversation that has been had when contract bargaining has happened over the last few years. But it's time for teachers in Leon County to have that stability and know that when you're doing your job effectively and highly effectively, you can come back and see those students and continue to be part of that school community for the years to come. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last speaker is Miss Shaylanqua Smith. Forgive me if I mispronounced that name. Please come give us your full name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening. I'm Miss Shaylanqua Smith. My address is 33A Buckskin Circle, Midway, Florida, 32343. And I'm here as well representing myself, my school, Conley Elementary, and LCTA, and the teachers that are also on annual contract as well. And basically just to share my story about it, I've been teaching for almost 16 years, and this is my 5th year in Leon County, and I am trying to get as many teachers as I can to join me in Leon County from other counties because I really enjoy the teachers, the staff, and everything that I'm doing here. But it is unnerving to say at the end of every year that I can be let go. And I qualify myself as a great teacher. By Florida standards, I think that I'm a great teacher. I always, for the majority of my career, received highly effective, a few years effective. And at the end of the year, it's very unnerving at this time of the year. Testing's going on, and we're thinking about that and trying to make sure that everything goes right. Evaluations coming up, observations, and all I can think of, if this doesn't go right this one day, and if my students don't perform on the test, then that's it. That's it for me. There's no guarantee. My 16 years don't matter. At the end of the year, it's up to my principal to say, hey, you've done a good job, or no, you haven't, and that's it, we're sorry. And so we're more than just teachers, and I know you all know that. I consider us to be jugglers. I mean, because at any given day, at any given moment, I can be a social worker, I'm a parent, I have to teach manners, I have to teach kindness, I have to teach organization, responsibility. I'm a bookkeeper, I'm an actress. If you name it, I think we do it in the classroom. We're psychologists and secretaries. I'm a data analyst, and this is just, from 7:45 to 3:15 every day. That's not including after school and the kids that need you more. That's not a part of our job description. Where someone lost the Tropicana speech contest and they needed a hug, or their parents are divorcing and they feel comfortable enough to come to you. That's not in my job description. That's not on my evaluation. But at the end of the year, so we would like some stability. I would ask that as you vote and as you meet, that you think about that. You think about the teachers that are doing great jobs, not trying to protect those that are not doing the right thing, but for those of us that are passionate, that care. Even the state of Florida gives you a certificate and says, we don't want to bother with you for 5 years. So at least, having some stability, if not for a 20-year term, but a few years at a time, so that we know that we're cared for and that we're appreciated.
Thank you. No more speakers.
If I may, Madam Chair, I just want to thank the 3 of you for coming in, and I know we're in the middle of negotiations right now. I heard you. I was one of those teachers that was hired before 2011, well before 2011, and my wife was hired well before 2011. I don't want to make any commitments that I cannot deliver on, other than say I heard you tonight, and we will have those conversations because you're right. I mean, we a lot of times talk about our teachers and how important they are, and then for you to have to worry about that every single spring because it may be a personality conflict or something along those lines. I mean, everyone has the right to feel like they're valued and they have job security. And I know the legislature took that away from us, took that control away from teachers back in 2011. But I think we can find a creative way, a creative spot to get to where we both need to be to give y'all some sense of stability as well. Okay?
Ms. Bowen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not intend for these comments to in any way be misinterpreted or to bump up against any bargaining opportunities. But as I listen to these speakers, I'm thinking that at one point in this county, some many years ago, we used to have a help hotline for individuals who were experiencing difficulties or problems, and just somewhere to register their concerns. And I'm thinking that this might be an opportunity to consider that again. I know we talked about the climate surveys at one point, and I think those still have a real place that they can help in determining what's happening on our campuses, Mr. Superintendent. And I'm also thinking about our EAP programs, so that individuals who need to discuss further any, I dare not say traumas, but feelings or thoughts that they may need to have taken care of, in a way to have someone to talk to, if we could give that some continuous thought, so that the stability of our workforce continues to be balanced, given all of the challenges that they face, and understanding that often our hands are tied when it comes to much of what we can do based on what we get from the legislature. So I offer that.
Right, I agree, and I remember what that feels like. The first 3 years that I was teaching before we entered into a professional service contract, I remember that feeling. And every single year, I would receive a pink slip from my principal, and most of that was really surrounded more about funding than it was about my job performance. So that's also an issue I know that comes into play. But given our current situation and teacher shortage, I feel as though there's a way for us to get to where we need to be to provide our annual contract teachers stability and security, and knowing that if they're doing a good job, as so reflected by their evaluation, that there is a place for them. And we just have to be creative and figure out how do we get there. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, that concludes persons to be heard. That takes us to item 7, is the beginning of the items of consent, general consent agenda, which
I move all the items of consent.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Ms. Bowen. All in favor of items 7 through 17?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Show unanimously approved. Takes us to item number 18, items of consent regarding construction, for which I will abstain. Is there a motion for?
I move the items 18 of consent for passing.
Second. Moved by Mr. Jones, second by Ms. Wood. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimously approved with one abstention. Thank you. And I'm abstaining because of a potential or perceived conflict with my employer regarding contractors.
All right.
Takes us to the superintendent's comments.
Madam Chair, if I may, talked about Bus Driver Appreciation Week. This is the week to appreciate people, right? As well as our significant others on Friday. Please don't forget that day.
Sound like note to self.
There you go, note to self. Also, I'm continuing my listening tour. This morning, we had a very powerful hour and a half at AMI/Second Chance with the sheriff and some other speakers with those young men that are at that school. And then I went over to NIMS and sat down with a bunch of middle school kids and had pizza and cookies and talked about challenges and issues they face. And we'll continue to meet with all of our high school and middle school students between now and the end of the year. Just listening. As adults, we like to do a lot of talking and not a lot of listening, so this gives me a chance to listen to them, if I hear reoccurring themes that we can address, like AP mentioned, us forming a student-led council to talk about issues of mental health. And I know Dr. Cox is fully invested in making that happen before he leaves his legacy as a student here in our school system. And also today at Florida A&M, as part of the grant that TCC received, we had a Girls in Science Day. STEM activities. All of our Title I schools bused fifth graders over to Florida A&M and had all kinds of activities surrounding STEM and STEM efforts, and talked about all the options and possibilities there are. And today was Girls Rule the World Day in the gymnasium, so it was a really cool event. And very thankful to Tallahassee Community College and their partnership with us, along with Florida A&M University. So those girls were just they were having a good time today, and it just showed them that there are no limits. And like they told me that, Mr. Hanna, girls really do rule the world these days. You guys just don't. You just hadn't figured it out yet. So that was pretty exciting. And I believe that's it, Madam Chair.
Great. All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. No items of continuing concerns. That takes us to 24, new issues from board members and our student school board member. AP, you had something you wanted to talk about?
As always, I'm going to go to the podium again.
Sure, go ahead.
So last meeting, I told you guys about the 2 student-led programs that I'm participating in, helping to create, and I have the immense pleasure of bringing in 2 of the leaders from those programs. We'll start with the first program, which is a minority in program at NIMS for a STEM approach. I'll be calling up Max Nepieba for that. If we could have
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So today, like he said, my name is Max Nepieba. I'm a 12th grader that goes to Rickards High School, and we're here today to present to you STEM Out, which is a program that we came up with back in March. The backstory for it, for the first time in my high school career, I participated in the science fair, and I was lucky enough to go to the state science fair. And when I went to the state science fair, I walked in, and especially in the opening ceremony and meeting all the new people, and I walked in, and especially me being an African American, I walk in and I was like just meeting people, and I just noticed the lack of particularly representation from different minority groups. For example, the amount of African Americans there could be counted on 2 hands, and the amount of African Americans that won an award could count on 1 hand, and it was just so amazed. I was amazed by the stark contrast and the races there. And it's particularly, I texted Apurva immediately. I texted one of my other friends, Kenny, who couldn't be here. He's at a basketball game right now for Child's High School. And I was like, what can we do to help make change, little change in our community? And we came up with STEM Out. Yeah. So just introduce myself really quickly. Can you go down a little more? You can go down a little. So I like to think that's a really good picture of myself, but
Okay.
But yeah, like I said, I'm 12th grade at Rickards High School, and next year when I go to college, I would like to major in either biology, biochem, or chemistry. I mean, both are really interesting to me, so it's really a toss-up. And can you go down more?
How do you pronounce your last name, Max?
Nepieba.
Nepieba.
Yeah. And Kenny, he couldn't be here. We had a video, but we just forgot to send it. But he's like I said, he's playing for Charles as we speak right now for senior night. Yeah, and he's also a 12th grader at Charles High School. He's a more engineering type guy, so that's what he loves to do. He loves robotics, doing that type of thing.
So it's the reason we were inspired to start this, and just to give you a more broader understanding of where we come from. Our parents, all 3 of us, are in the STEM fields, whether they're educators, engineers, innovators. And at least for me and Max, we are immigrants, or our parents are immigrants, and they came here because they were offered jobs in STEM. And so it's very dear to our hearts. The subject is whether we want to pursue it or whether we want to pursue other career fields in life. It's something that's very close to us. And that's a very big reason as to why we wanted to start it.
So some interesting statistics whenever we were just sort of coming up with how the best way to approach it whenever making this program. So since 1990, STEM employment has increased up to 79% in the United States. However, the participation of minorities compared now to then is particularly the same. Most alarming was one number that I saw, 84%. Can you please go down? Yeah. 84% of the professionals working in science and engineering jobs today are white or Asian males. And when I saw this, I was astonished, because given the fact that the millions of people that come here today, every single day, to pursue jobs and careers in STEM, the fact that it's such a high number of white and Asian males in these fields was really stark, and we immediately tried to do something to help make change in our community.
So you're probably wondering what we want to do, what our goals are for this year and for coming years. So what we want to do is to eventually partner up with the school board, Right now, our program is at NIMS, and later on in the PowerPoint, you'll see the immense progress that we've made with the children there. But we want to be able to partner up with you guys, the resources that you have, the insight, the wisdom that you can offer, and use that to expand all over Leon County. Because we know that there are other students, other schools that need this program, that need this exposure to STEM and need the inspiration to go into a career one day in a STEM program.
So, Mr. Carlos Villa couldn't be here today, but Mr. Villa from the Mag Lab, wanted to give big credit to him because he was a person that we came to originally whenever we were discussing what to do with this idea, and he agreed to provide us materials and any extra support to help make STEM out a thing. And he's also agreed to do this for continuing years. For example, in our first meeting, which occurred 2 weeks ago, we performed an elephant toothpaste experiment for the students. And they provided us beakers, graduated cylinders, syringes, anything you can name for this experiment. And they were a big help. Now in the long run, we hope to increase the outreach of this program to other middle schools, like Apurva said, and make STEM out a part of the 21st century programs throughout Leon County. That's what we hope to do in the end.
So we didn't come here without any results, without any progress, and that's what we'd like to show you. If you could look at the PowerPoint, this is just how we set up the experiment for the after-school kids at NIMS. We gave them graduated cylinders, we gave them yeast, hydrogen peroxide, safety equipment, taught them everything about those equipment, everything about the reaction that would be happening. And if you can scroll down, these are some of the kids in their protective gear in front of the experiment, about to start it, and we actually have videos of them participating in it. And we know the sound is out right now, but I can narrate it. So elephant toothpaste is basically, it's a chemical reaction, and you mix two chemicals together, and you have just something that's very aesthetic and very fun to watch, as you'll see in the experiment. And we have Max, Kenny, and I telling them what steps we need to take, what safety measures we have to have in place before we start the experiment. And so it's an educational experience, but it also shows the fun side of STEM. I wish there was sound so there wouldn't be an awkward pause, but in the next video, you'll see the experiment actually happening. And you'll also see the excitement on the kids' faces. That's why we do this. That's the biggest reason. So they're mixing the yeast with water. That they're gonna, after they mix it, they're gonna put it in with hydrogen peroxide, dye, and dish soap. And it's a very fun product. They have to mix it first.
Okay. A lot of fun with that.
Yeah. So we had them all do it at the same time so we could all have the reactions at the same time. And here we have them pouring in the yeast, water mixture. Well, now they're being told not to because they're getting ahead of themselves, but yeah, that's why we teach them safety. So it's actually really hot when it comes out. That's why we're not told them not to touch it, but just a few seconds after, it's safe. And we had them do this multiple times. And, the biggest takeaway from this program is throughout these videos, you'll see that these kids are genuinely excited about learning. They're genuinely excited about being there, about learning about the different opportunities that STEM can offer. And just some of the future goals that we're going to have are speakers and different professionals from the STEM field coming down to educate these students about different career options.
So the three of you just took it upon yourself to go into the after school, the 21st century program at NIMS and do this work with these middle school kids?
And to talk to the professor at the Mag Lab, you just
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I mean, innovating, cutting edge, outstanding commitment to help students like yourself, but younger. I'm thinking, and the children shall lead them. That's what I'm thinking. So were there adults in the room with you? You had your advisor there, or you know? I mean,
Wait. We'll ask that question offline. I'm sure. Actually, I'm sure there were adults in the room with them before the experiment was executed.
Well, outstanding gentlemen, really. Thank you so much.
I'm sure, yes. I haven't looked his direction yet, but I'm quite certain Mr. Jones is going to have something to say, because I recall that a couple of weeks ago he was talking about what a great idea it would be to have a STEM corridor, if you will, like the Tharp Street one.
I just think what you've done is amazing, and the fact that you are, and this is just the first of what will be 2 presentations today, correct? Mm-hmm. That your impact is that you've used this bully pulpit and opportunity born of your having been selected to sit on the school district as a student member, but not just a student member, but as a colleague, and to bring innovation from both your classmates and peers, whereby you're helping to equip young people who are younger than yourselves. And I just think that is just absolutely admirable. And so when I think about what Miss Misty Cash described to us earlier about random acts of kindness, well, this is what qualifies as random acts of kindness, because the impact you're going to have on those young people who you spent these moments with is going to have enormous impact. And I'm just delighted that you all have availed yourself in this way.
Yes.
Random acts of kindness running amok.
Ms. Wood.
Well, I echo all those comments. One thing I've learned as a teacher, that kids learn by experiences. And if you can give them an experience, that lasts forever. And so what you've done is done that experiential learning with these students. And, I want you to be a model for all of our teachers in the district, that's what kids like and want to do, is when they're in those science labs, having experiences with experiments. So thank you for modeling that. But the element that you added that just can't be replaced is when older students go, it's a service learning project really, and go to younger students, the kids love it 1,000 times more, because they're like, then it's cool. So I hope that you can recruit an entire cadre of students to see this as a service learning idea and go down into the middle schools, because then when it comes time to fill out their high school schedule, they will be more prone to sign up for chemistry and all those courses that will lead them in the possibility of a career. So thank you for that. And you asked if we could be a partner in that, and I really hope that we can be, Superintendent, and meet with our science curriculum folks and see how we can combine service learning like you're doing in the classroom at our youngest students, so they will get right in that pipeline for STEM. It's amazing. So thank you so much. It's wonderful.
Very good. Thank you.
And thank you. Special thanks to your parents as well.
Is this a parent here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you.
Max's
Very
father
proud.
is here.
AP, do you have another?
Of course I do. So I also mentioned a mental health program run by students, and I have one of my colleagues who's helped me run this and who's helped me start this up. I have Sam Boer here with me today, and we're going to present to you what we've done so far and now what we hope to do.
Good evening. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm kind of nervous. Please excuse me.
Don't be nervous. You're great.
I'm not as gifted in the public speaking as a Perva and Max.
You seem to be doing just great so far.
So Mental Health Leon was a idea that I had in maybe August. I worked for Solution Skills, a ACT and SAT prep company, and while I was filling out some things that I was interested in doing, one of the options was a psychology club. So I just checked it off mindlessly. I like psychology, so actually after I got hired there, I met with Randy, my boss, and he decided that we were going to have a psychology club, and I contacted my colleague Apurva, and we got some meetings started with 2 other students from Leon High School. During our first meetings, it was just the 4 of us, and we used it as a check-in of sorts. We would all talk about how our weeks were going, because high school comes with stress, and we would all just use it in that formation. And after a while, we decided that we wanted to have goals to accomplish, and I knew that Apurva would be able to help me because he was on the school board. So we eventually got onto more big ideas. So our goals for this mental health association is to hold anonymous meetings, sort of like group therapy meetings among high school, middle school, any students that are welcome to come. And just as a way of, a lot of students feel like their voices are not heard. And we want to offer group therapy meetings for those students. And just as we can all offer each other advice and stuff of those sorts. And we also want to have a parent night, because we know that a lot of parents are not as educated in mental health as some others might be. So we want to have a parent night with many other people from the field of mental health. We want to have social workers, a psychology professor from FSU would be nice. And we also want to work with the school board to, we want to have a mental health committee that works with the school board. I know the listening tour is coming up soon, so that's what we would like to do, yes.
And to go more in depth about what we want for these parent nights, what we want for these goals to accomplish is, after holding these anonymous meetings, after holding these meetings that are, of course, fully confidential because we don't want to violate the privacy of any student, we summarize the results of the afflictions that students in Leon County have. And we hold a parent night for parents across Leon County, whether your student goes to Rickards, Godby, Leon, Lincoln, any high school, middle school even, and to offer insight into what exactly goes on inside of a high schooler's head, of a middle schooler's head, when they're stressed out, when they're depressed, when they're anxious about just every day-to-day things. And so this can be anyone in Leon County, including the board members who I invite, who I implore to come to these meetings to sit in and to learn, maybe educate yourselves even on what is in the realm of mental health and psychology. And we plan on holding this in early March. So what we want from the future is, we're currently talking to the TMH Animal Therapy Program. We're sorting out paperwork and sorting out, things that come along with animals, allergies, fear, all of that. I'm going to be setting up multiple meetings with them. I have a teacher at my school approached me about it. She used to be part of that program, and I was actually really surprised and really grateful for her help, because she really got my foot in the door with them and emailed them for me and told them that I would be coming by. And the biggest thing we want to create from this is, sort of like SDAC, a student mental health advisory board, a board that takes into account the mental health problems that students have across Leon County and reports them to the board and works with the board to solve these issues. We've already had Dr. Cox extend his help, extend his resources. He's already got a social worker lined up for us who he thinks can help us out. And school board's already done an immense service for us, and we hope that in the future we can utilize your help even more.
Well, I think that's terrific. I remember when my kids were in high school, and there was a lot of conversation around the amount of stress and how much our students, how pressured they feel from various aspects of their lives. It all seems to coalesce around the added pressure of either athletics or academics, or just peer pressure or depression or family situations. And so I commend you for what you've done. Again, I just wrote you a note with the name of a couple folks that might be additional assets. I'm
Thank you.
glad to know that you're working with Dr. Cox. I think that's important to make sure, for liability reasons, that we're careful about how we approach it. But I love what you're doing, and I thank you for bringing this forward.
We're with her. We're with you.
Thank you.
Great job of all of you guys, AP and the buddies. I mean, just really student leaders, and you're amazingly creative, and you take initiative, and you're very well spoken. You did a great job. No one lied. I think we all talk about standing up. It's nerve wracking, and you did a great job. So, but thank you for sharing those programs with us. We don't hear enough about what goes on at schools all over our district, and so thank you for being here tonight and making that effort. So we appreciate it.
Mr. Superintendent, can we take a picture with these young men?
I would be honored.
You too.
Really proud of you, young man.
You're just dying to sit there.
Okay, that's been my turn.
I know, right?
I have a new concern. It'll be one second. 1 second.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Wood.
two things. One, I just want to say to AP, you're setting a high bar for the next student council, student school board member. So I'm glad, because there's a reason we have you up here, is to hear the student voice. And I just appreciate that you not only just participate in the meetings, but you're doing things and bringing them to us. So
Of course. And I mean,
so much for that.
this position is nothing without the students that I represent. Max and Sam, they deserve as much credit as me, as much praise. I mean, these two are amazing young men. They're amazing people that want so much for our community. And I think that for any future student member, the one thing to do is always, listen to your peers, and because they're your best resources. I mean, these two have been amazing, and they've been amazing leaders with amazing ideas. And I just hope that in the future, the legacy that we can leave behind is that it's the small things that add up to have a big change.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
And just speaking of that, I wanted to remind people, the next couple of days, the Shakespeare group is going to be doing a play, A Town Divided, which is loosely based on Romeo and Juliet. And because we have contributed to them, they are doing student and school performances at TCC, I think, the next 3 days. And so I hope that there are going to be a lot of students there. I don't know what the arrangements are, but I'm really excited that, and it's all about A Town Divided and how to work on racism and all those things. And it's apparently a really cool play that is going to have a lot of dialogue with students in the audience. So I hope you and some of your friends can go to that.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Mr. Jones?
Yes, for my new concern, I am interested in our board as a part of our strategic planning process to look at how we, over the next few years, will reimagine our school district. At present, we already have a great number of magnet programs, but I really am interested in us heightening the dialogue of what we would describe as our schools being pathways to careers. if we were to harness the already existing capital found at our at our Lively Vocational Technical College, plus in concert with our business community, which has identified what are our targeted industries where we know that there's a paucity of workforce opportunity. If we were to prepare our workforce most specifically, we will always have reading, writing, and arithmetic, but I think we ought to talk about how we fund what is a current demand. We're hearing this type of conversation at the state level. We're hearing it in our local community, and I think that we ought to bring in the subject matter experts, particularly found at the Department of Ed, and even at the federal level. There is a brand new discussion afoot as to when young people, when they graduate out, that they're prepared either to go into careers or they're prepared to go to college. And anything that we can do to formalize that process as we look at the facilities that we currently have at our disposal and the interests that we have in concert with our business community, as well as both of our two major research institutions found in our community. I think I would like for us to be talking about that as we do our strategic planning. Then secondly, we are, with the investment, the purposeful investment that our superintendent has us making in our athletic facilities, we are on the verge of helping our community become an epicenter for sports tourism. There will be a variety. We've already seen that happen most recently. What I'd like for us to consider, and we talk about that, how do we make certain that we're getting the full bang for our buck from that investment? And although we will get facility fees, there is exponential financial impact from sports tourism, monies that we will not realize, found in both increased bed taxes and on those revenues that will not come to us. So maybe it's worthwhile for us to start discussions as to having other jurisdictions found in our community making equal investment to match with ours to increase our athletic facilities at our 5 high schools. And I think if we were to make that type of investment in tandem with the other jurisdictions who will also realize benefit from it, because we will have an uptick in sports tourism in our community, I think that if they were equal partners in it, we could really have some state-of-the-art facilities, and the money that we'd be able to generate on behalf of our schools through this entrepreneurial effort could be significant. So I'd like for us to consider having that conversation as well. So those are my 2 areas of concern. I'm not certain how we will, Dr. Gale and Mr. Superintendent, how we will couch that, but I do want that to be a part of our discussion when we come together as a part of our strategic plan.
And I would just add that I think County Commissioner Chairman Deloge and Mayor Daley have been very excited about the improvements that we made at Cox Stadium, are well aware of the financial economic development impacts for what you're discussing. So I don't know if we've had conversations about
making an investment.
Their financial investment in the same thing, but we have over the years had those kinds of conversations about joint use facilities, and so it's certainly appropriate that we would continue to have that dialogue. So thank you. All right. With that,
Move we adjourn.
Ms. Striplin moves we adjourn.
Okay, thank you.